I'm going to sort of end things with, you should start small and think big. Michael Dell started in his dorm room and built a multi-billion-dollar company. Steve Jobs started in a garage. So did Larry and Sergey. You can start small, but you should have your ambition set really high. And if you get even halfway down that course, you'll be pretty happy. And that's essentially all I have to talk about today. I'm also going to be here all day today and this evening. So if you run into me, feel free to start up a conversation. So thank you.
Muchas gracias, David Yulevich, por su interesante conferencia. A continuación, le pedimos al ingeniero Gustavo Cervantes que nos acompañe para pasar a la sesión de preguntas.
Are there any questions? It's hard to see.
Here it is. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good afternoon. Very inspiring talk.
Thank you.
Because I think that with all these audience, that is youngsters that are now focused on their studying, but as you said, it's important that you are passionate because that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Thank you. Right. You have talked about your experience on creating and managing a company in the United States. You have said that, well, there is the right time, the right environment. It's a very interesting question because Mexico's environment, it's a little different from the United States. So the question is, if you have started your company in another country, like Mexico, with another environment in which tax laws are difficult, getting the right people, it's difficult. Would you think that it become a success like you have done?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you can start a company anywhere, without question. I think that I'm very lucky that I get to start my company in Silicon Valley, because when I want to hire great people, it's so much easier. But with the internet, you can work with people remotely. They don't need to actually be in your city. And I can tell from all the people in the audience and the people that I've met who've put on this program, which, by the way, this program is better than anything I've ever seen at any college campus anywhere. So it's clear that there's an impressive talent pool in this room alone. And I'm sure that it echoes into Mexico itself. So you can start a company anywhere, and you can also, over time, decide to relocate your company and all those things. But it's clear that there's a talent pool here, and I would see no reason why you can't start it. All you have to do is find the right people. Maybe it takes a little bit longer.
Yes. The question is related of how the idea of creating the company OpenDNS came. Was a flash? It was an interest you have in technology. How did it happen?
So it's a very iterative process. My first company dealt with the domain name system also, and we found out that there were a lot of people like spammers and people giving malware and viruses, and they were using the domain name system in a bad way. And so I said, okay, well, how can we build a new domain name system that's able to get rid of the bad guys? And so it's a very iterative process. And when we first started the company, we called it OpenDNS. We had no idea that we would be blocking Playboy, 4 years later for parents. So companies evolve over time, and they find their businesses. And we iterated many, many times over and over.
The next question is related of creating a company by only one people is difficult. You need a lot of people to complement you. Who were the people that were right beside you when you created the company, and what were their characteristics?
Sure. So I didn't have any co-founders, but I had mentors and people that I've met through my years in the industry that I used as advisors and sometimes investors. And I would use those people not just once a month, but I would talk to them every day to help me. And like I said, I have somebody like Michelle, who I put up on the screen. I'm sort of like the big picture person, but I'm not very good at making sure that we have enough money in our bank account to clear our checks. So it's really good that you have the right kind of people, and you have to know what your weaknesses are. My weakness is that I'm not very good at spreadsheets and finances, so I need to have people on my team that can help support me in that way.
Okay, this is, I think, a management-oriented question. What's your point of view of having more than one company at a time? You recommend you should concentrate on one, or you should open your
I think it's very difficult, which is ultimately why I focused all my energy on one, And then I realized I was neglecting, not only was I neglecting the company, but I was neglecting the other company's customers. And that's why I sold it, because it was becoming a distraction. And I think it's very difficult to do more than one company at once.
Okay.
Maybe somebody else can do that. I can't do it.
Okay. These other questions are related to a more technical side. Did you use open source? What is the architecture of the application in which you manage DNS of the product?
So we run all of our own networks, our own routers, our own servers. The software that we use for the DNS server, we've written ourselves, but it's based on top of Linux, the open source operating system, and we use a lot of FreeBSD, which is another open source operating system. I don't want to get too far into the technical pieces now, but like I said, I'll be around all day. So we use routing and BGP, and we peer with hundreds of networks around the world, and I love talking about that stuff, so I'm happy to talk about it more.
Okay, this question is about Google. As you mentioned that being passionate, being creative, being innovative, it's very important, but what do you think about Google trying to get into everything, to being this big monster?
Well, they certainly compete with me now. They've launched a Google DNS product. So it hits me right in the heart. But the way I look at Google is that, and I know a lot of really, really smart people that work there, and they're actually way smarter than I am, which is scary. And so, but they're really good engineers. In Google, if you look at Google's track record, they've always been really good at the technical stuff and not so good at the other pieces. So like Google Buzz, which they just announced, you can't just write software and assume that you can compete with Facebook. Facebook is a whole momentum. It's a movement, right? It's not just a piece of software. And so I think Google's weakness is that they think of everything as being a technical problem with a technical solution. And so I hope to beat Google by being not just focused on the technical solution.
Yes, and this is a question regarding your opinion about Google Buzz.
About what?
Google Buzz?
Buzz, yeah. So Google Buzz, I actually, for some reason, it doesn't really, I did something to my account and it doesn't really work very well. I'm very happy with Facebook, so I haven't really had a reason to play with it. I think that they have to do Google Buzz because they have no other strategy to help in the sort of the social movement, this collaboration movement. It might be more interesting when businesses start using Google Buzz, the same way that Cisco talked about, that Howard from Cisco talked about, how companies are collaborating. Then it might be more interesting. But you can't just replace Facebook because Facebook is its own thing.
Okay, and what's your opinion about Microsoft's Bing?
Bing? I like Bing. And I think that competition in the marketplace is really, really good. As somebody who runs an online website where my whole life is determined by people being able to find my website in Google results, it's very scary to think that they control the entire market. Now, I'm not saying it's their fault that they're so good, but I hope that Bing will get really good so that at least there's some parity in the market.
Okay, well, the last two questions. One is, let's say that you are on the David Letterman show and you are asked to mention the top 5 mistakes on running and creating a business in IT. What would be those?
Hiring bad people, getting bad investors, settling for things that are anything less than perfect. Sometimes you have to learn that other people get motivated differently than you do, so I sort of don't need reinforcement, but other employees need to be told that they do a good job, right? Like I don't need to be told that I do a good job, but some people need to be told that, and that's okay. So learning how to manage and deal with people is really important. And I guess I'd have to think about the 5th one.
Okay.
I'm sure I could come up with 100 if I thought about it.
And you mentioned about passion, and it's related to being hardworking. How many hours a day do you spend at work?
I'm working right now, all the time. How many hours at the office? I'm an early bird, so unlike most hackers, I wake up really early. So I'm at the office by about 6 or 7 a.m., and I usually leave by about 7 or 8 p.m. So, I work pretty hard.
Okay, and finally, what's in the future for OpenDNS?
I don't
and
know,
yourself?
but I hope we kill Google DNS. And, again, our products are driven by our customers. So we build what our customers ask us to build. And I hope that by doing that, we'll build a really big, profitable company.
And for yourself, what's the future for you?
I'm loving what I'm doing. So, I'm glad that I'm CEO again, and I hope to do it for a long time.
Okay. Thank you very much for your inspiring
you.
talk.